Have you ever felt like you're stuck in life? Like you're just going through the motions day in and day out without any real sense of purpose or direction? It's a feeling that can be incredibly frustrating and overwhelming, and it's something that so many of us have experienced at one point or another. But the good news is that you don't have to stay stuck. There are things you can do to break free from that feeling and start living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. So if you're feeling lost, confused, or just plain stuck, then stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be equipped with the tools you need to take the first step to becoming happier. Many of us spend a large part of our lives in one way or another feeling stuck. There are two reasons that prevent us from getting unstuck. Reason number one, negative thoughts patterns. Negative thought patterns can have a significant impact on our mental well-being and the way we perceive our experiences in life. They can trigger negative emotions such as anxiety, fear, and sadness, which in turn can lead to negative behaviors such as avoidance, procrastination, and self-sabotage. Reason number two, feeling overwhelmed. When we experience overwhelming or fearful emotions, our brain's fight or flight response is activated. As a result, when we're in this state, we may feel more prone to avoidant behaviors or freeze rather than to take action towards our goals. This can then further exacerbate our feelings of being stuck and create a sense of helplessness or hopelessness. To overcome this gap between what we want and actually do, it's important to take action and steps towards closing the gap and aligning our actions with our goals and values. We can do this by following 5 principles that counteract low motivation, depression, or feeling stuck. Principle 1. Approach rather than avoid. The classic example of avoidance behavior is waking up and telling yourself that you will go to the gym after work. But then when you get back home from work, you feel too tired to go and tell yourself that you deserve to have some rest and will go tomorrow instead. A better way to handle the situation is to approach it. For example, when you get back home from work, you may still feel tired, but instead of giving in and avoid going to the gym, you may go for a walk, so you still get some exercise in, because this aligns with your values. Principle 2. Implement self-care. Whenever we feel tired, hungry, overwhelmed, or even hungover, we are more tempted to procrastinate on the things we should be doing instead of following through. For example, you have a big project due for work and you have been working on it for hours. You feel tired and hungry because you skipped lunch to work on the project. In this situation, your energy levels are probably so low that it might be more tempted to procrastinate on the project and take a break instead of working on the project and meet the deadline. As a result, you also start to feel overwhelmed because you still have a lot of work to do. So it's important to focus on our health and habits whenever we feel stuck, as building healthy habits will help us feel better and happier. Principle 3. Follow discomfort, not emotions. Whenever we get in a situation where we have the choice to avoid or approach a certain activity, we get on this intersection that we call a choice point. For example, you had a really long day, and just before you go to sleep, you reward yourself by watching an episode of your favorite Netflix show. But before you know it, 45 minutes have passed and the episode is over. Now, your mind is telling you to click continue and watch another episode. But at the same time, you just know that this wouldn't be the wisest decision, because it's already 11:30 p.m. and you don't want to feel tired at work tomorrow. Nonetheless, the urge of watching the next episode is so powerful that it's taking over your emotions, leaving your rational thinking behind, and you give in by clicking on the next episode. But the next day you wake up and regret staying up longer as you now feel grumpy and tired. In this situation, you let your emotions take the upper hand and choose to have instant gratification and pleasure over long-term benefits. By recognizing these choice points, we can start to make more intentional and mindful decisions that align with our long-term goals and values. Principle 4. When your schedule is full, do more. This may sound counterintuitive, but when we add more activities and commitments to our schedules, we can actually increase happiness and reduce feelings of overwhelm and burnout. This is because our brain thrives on novelty and stimulation. When we engage in new or challenging activities, our brains release dopamine and other feel-good chemicals, which can boost our moods and energy levels. At the same time, having a full and active schedule can give us a sense of purpose and accomplishment, which can further increase happiness and well-being. However, it's important to note that the principle does not advocate for overloading your schedule to the point of exhaustion, or neglecting self-care. Rather, it suggests finding a balance between challenging yourself with new activities and prioritize rest, relaxation, and other self-care practices. One way to keep track of your activities is by keeping a daily planner. This could be a physical planner or a digital planner, whatever works best for you. By doing so, you can keep track of the situations you avoid rather than approach, as well as keep track of any choice points you encounter. Principle 5. Stay on track by sharing momentary victories. The final principle suggests that sharing small successes and positive experiences with others can help us stay motivated and on track towards our larger goals. Evolutionary, forming strong bonds with others and belonging to a tribe or a community was a way to survive. Nowadays, we don't need others to physically survive like our ancestors did. However, we still need social interactions, and when these bonds are threatened, you may experience a range of negative emotions such as loneliness, anxiety, or fear. By sharing successes with others, we can receive support and encouragement and feel accepted and loved. This in turn helps us stay engaged and motivated in the pursuit of our goals and helps elicit positive emotions. Feeling stuck in life can be a frustrating and discouraging experience, but it's important to remember that change is possible with effort and commitment. By taking the time to identify the root causes of our feelings of stuckness, we can begin to develop strategies to overcome them and create a more fulfilling life. This may involve making changes to our daily habits, seeking out new experiences, or pursuing new goals or interests that align with our values and passions. By following the 5 principles, we can open ourselves up to new opportunities and experiences and create a life that truly reflects our values and aspirations.
If you want to learn more about the science of well-being, aka happiness, make sure to watch the next video so you can start building happiness into your life.